A Moray eel has two sets of fully functional jaws. The second one is hidden inside its throat, and for over a century nobody knew it moved. Cold water, a coral reef crevice somewhere in the Pacific, the eel is pressed into a gap barely wider than its own skull, still as stone, watching. The only thing visible from outside is that open mouth, needle teeth, pale gums, a darkness behind them that seems to go nowhere. The darkness is not empty. Most fish catch prey through suction, a fast, gulping vacuum that pulls food inward. Moray eels cannot do that. Their heads are too narrow, their mouths open inside rock. Suction requires space they do not have, so biology built them something else. Buried several centimeters behind the oral jaw sits a second jaw structure, smaller, fully toothed, mounted on its own independent muscular base. This is the pharyngeal jaw. Other fish have pharyngeal jaws too, but those work like a grinding mill, processing food already swallowed. The Morays version does something different. Something that, before 2007, no biologist had documented in any vertebrate on Earth. The outer jaw bites first. That part was always known. But the prey doesn't simply slide backward. Something else happens, fast, deep, invisible at normal speed. A second motion, originating further back, moving forward. For over a century, Morays were kept in aquariums, studied in labs, dissected in university trays under fluorescent light. The pharyngeal jaw structure was visible to anyone who propped the throat open with a pin, and still the mechanism went undetected. Not because the evidence was hidden, because nobody had a camera fast enough to see what happened in the fraction of a second after the bite. Then Rita Mehta, a biologist at UC Davis, built a different kind of experiment. By the end of this video, you will know exactly what her 500 frames per second camera captured in 2007. A single 30 millisecond event that broke a rule biologists had held for over a century about what vertebrate jaws can physically do. The paper landed in Nature on September 6th of that year. The rule it broke had been considered settled anatomy. Settled, it turned out, meant nothing. Here is what everyone assumed. The Moray eel had a second set of teeth in its throat. Fine, so do hundreds of other fish. Cichlids have them, wrasses have them, parrotfish have them. The pharyngeal jaw in fish biology is a known structure. Unremarkable, a grinding tool. Carell Leem at Harvard spent decades mapping pharyngeal jaws across fish lineages in the 1970s and 1980s. His conclusion was clear. Pharyngeal jaws process food, they crush shells, they grind. They work on material that has already been swallowed. The oral jaw captures, the pharyngeal jaw finishes. That division of labor made complete sense. Textbooks accepted it. The case was closed. And for the Moray eel, nobody challenged it. Morays had been kept in aquariums for over a century, studied, dissected, filmed. The pharyngeal jaw was there, visible in any dissection tray, and it looked exactly like what Liam described, a secondary structure, sitting deep, sitting still. Then, the assumption breaks. The Moray eel cannot suction feed. Most predatory fish solve the prey transport problem the same way. They create a pressure drop, a sudden vacuum, and the water carrying the prey rushes inward. Rita Mehta, at UC Davis, noted this directly. Moray eels have lost the ability to use suction feeding because they live in crevices. The head is too narrow, the body is too rigid. There is no room to flare, no room to generate the pressure differential that every grouper, every base, every standard predatory fish relies on. So the prey is bitten, held at the outer jaw, and then what? The oral jaw bite force in Morays is comparatively weak for a fish of their size, weaker than expected. Something else is doing the work. The dissection tray gives a first hint. A researcher probes the pharyngeal jaw and pulls it forward along its muscle track. It moves, further than it should. Further than any passive grinding structure needs to move. It moves toward the front of the mouth. That motion has a name, a mechanism, and a direction that no standard fish anatomy textbook predicted. The muscles pulling it forward are not vestigial, they are substantial, purpose-built. So if the pharyngeal jaw is not passive, if it moves forward rather than grinds in place, what exactly is it doing in the 30 milliseconds after the outer jaw bites? 30 milliseconds. That is the number Rita Mehta was staring at in September 2007. A UC Davis lab, a saltwater tank under cold overhead lights, a high-speed camera running at 500 frames per second. And on the playback monitor, a timer frozen at 28 milliseconds, start to finish, outer jaw to prey secured. Here is the payoff this video promised. Mehta and her co-author Peter Wainwright published their findings in Nature on the 6th of September 2007, volume 449. The paper documented for the first time in recorded science a vertebrate using a second set of jaws not to process food already swallowed, but to actively reach forward, seize prey, and drag it down the throat. The pharyngeal jaw launched into the oral cavity the moment the outer jaw closed. It traveled the full length of the mouth. It contacted the prey within 28 milliseconds of the first bite. Not one other vertebrate jaw can physically do that. The rule it broke was over a century old. Carol Leem at Harvard had established in the 1970s that pharyngeal jaws across fish lineages serve one purpose: grinding and processing. They sit in the throat. They wait. They work on food that is already caught. That was the framework, the textbook. Mehta's footage invalidated it in under 3 seconds of slow-motion playback. In the paper's own language, the Moray eel is the only vertebrate that uses pharyngeal jaws to capture and restrain prey, in the same way that oral jaws are used. Wainwright called it, in the UC Davis press release the day before publication, one of the most important innovations in the feeding mechanism of fishes. And here is what nobody could explain until that camera rolled. The moray cannot suction feed. Its head is too narrow. Its mouth opens inside rock crevices where there is no room to generate the water pressure other fish rely on. It evolved a solution vertebrate biology said was not available. It built a second predator inside itself. The outer jaw holds. The pharyngeal jaw closes the case. The prey has 28 milliseconds, less time than a human blink, and nowhere to go. The moray eel did not find a workaround. It rewrote the rule, and science needed a 500 frames per second camera and the year 2007 to finally see it.